I want to read you a statement by a man by the name of Dr. Raymond F. Cottrell, who was a member of the Seventh-day Adventist organization for many years until his death in 2003. Before his death, he published a work called The Sanctuary Doctrine, Asset or Liability. Of course, the Sanctuary Doctrine is one of the doctrines of the Seventh-day Adventist, and in this article he calls it the Sanctuary Doctrine, Asset or Liability. Here is a statement that Dr. Cottrell makes in that video. I quote, "It has been repeatedly and consistently demonstrated that an ordained minister may believe that Christ was a created being and not, in brackets he has, and not God in full sense of the word, or that a person can earn salvation by faithfully observing the Ten Commandments, or that Genesis 1 is not a literal account of creation a mere 6,000 years ago, without being disciplined or forfeiting his ministerial credentials. But it has been repeatedly and consistently demonstrated that an ordained minister may not consistently question the authenticity of the traditional interpretation of Daniel 8:14, even in his thoughts, without his ministerial credentials being revoked." End quote. So what they're saying, what Dr. Cottrell is saying there, is that a person doesn't have to believe that Jesus is fully God. He can believe that he can work his way into heaven through the Ten Commandments, and they're not even questioned by the leaders of the Seventh-day Adventist. But when you question their traditional interpretation of Daniel 8:14 and consistently do that, then your ministerial credentials will be revoked for questioning the interpretation of a verse of Scripture. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of honesty going on there to me. Those who like Desmond Ford, who showed the Seventh-day Adventists they were wrong about their interpretation of Daniel 8:14, was terminated from the Seventh-day Adventist organization for doing that. Along with him, 110 ministers left because they knew that Daniel 8:14 had been interpreted wrong by the Seventh-day Adventist organization for over 100 years, and their paid apologists in the Seventh-day Adventist organization today still interpret it wrong. You've got to ask yourself the question, why? Why, when you have the tools to interpret the Bible you have today, when reputable scholars all over the world interpret Daniel 8:14 totally different than Seventh-day Adventist, why will they continually get it wrong for over 100 years? Why? It's not the interpretation that they give. It's not 2,300 years. This day for year principle has no place in the Bible. The word day there is not even used in the original Hebrew text. It's evening and mornings. I don't know of any reputable scholar outside, I don't know of any Seventh-day Adventist who is a reputable scholar outside the Seventh-day Adventist circle. They're only reputable scholars within the Seventh-day Adventist. None of them, on their interpretation of Daniel, is taken serious in the academic community. So you have to ask yourself, why do they consistently misinterpret Daniel 8:14, knowing it's wrong? The General Conference summons the DARCOM committee together, Daniel and Revelations committee, to try to settle the differences in the way the Seventh-day Adventists interpreted the Bible is according to the way other people interpret it. An entire committee of supposed scholars, but they couldn't settle the issue. So you have to ask yourself the question, why do the ministers and the leaders within the Seventh-day Adventist organization today consistently and purposely misinterpret Daniel 8:14? I'll challenge any Seventh-day Adventist to show me their interpretation is right, any of them, from the paid apologist of Doug Batchelor and Walter Veth to any of them they want. I'll challenge any of them. Why do they keep misinterpreting the Bible knowing they're doing it? Until next time, this has been Golly saying, God bless.